Welcome to Healthy Hibbing, a show brought to you by the Hibbing Chemical Health Advisory Committee. Our mission is to promote the well-being of our community's chemical health through education, prevention, and awareness. Hi, my name is Cheryl Bisping, and I'm the Community Health Outreach Coordinator for Fairview Range and a member of the Hibbing Chemical Health Advisory Committee. I am speaking with Pastor Dan Scally and Laura Bennett. Dan is the youth pastor for Abundant Life Church, and Laura Bennett is our regional alcohol, tobacco, and other drug prevention coordinator for Northeast Minnesota. Both are members of our committee and are going to be talking to us about prevention and resources in our community to help keep our teens and youth chemically free. Laura and Dan, thanks for coming here today to speak with me. Can you tell me a bit about yourselves? Dan, I'll let you go first.
Sure. Well, first I gotta say, Cheryl, thanks for having me, come and share today. And I just want to say thank you for your passion for heading up the Hibbing Chemical Health Committee. And I think you are making a big difference in this community, and with our schools, with our teens, and so I just want to say thank you for doing an excellent job in this community, and I appreciate
thank you.
So.
It's a bunch, it's not just me, it's the whole committee. And, it takes, a community to raise children, right?
Sure.
So thank you for that, though.
As mentioned, I'm a youth director at Abundant Life Church. I've been there for about 7 years now, and it's a job where I counsel teens, I pastor, I create youth events where teens can come and build meaningful relationships. And so a big part of my job is creating an avenue where kids can come, get connected, be a part of a local church community. And so I love my job. It's fun now. Recently just became a parent. I have a 8-week-old baby, and it's kind of the big joke now. Now as a parent, I can now tell all the other parents I know everything about parenting.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been fun to be a part of that church community. I also coach track and cross country at the high school, and so a big part of my job is to connect with teens, mentor, coach, and be a part of their lives. And so,
Well, thanks for all you do in the community, because that sounds like a lot and very exhausting. I don't see any dark circles under your eyes there. So. So that baby must be a good baby.
It's a good baby. So.
And Laura, how about you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me, and I also echo Dan's sentiments about yourself and the coalition. We are very lucky to have the committee here in Hibbing. I am, as you said, the Regional Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drug Prevention Coordinator for Northeast Minnesota, funded through a grant from our Minnesota Department of Human Services Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division, and I've been in this role since 2007.
Yep.
Also a relatively new mom, and I do have the dark circles.
No, you don't. You look great. And Laura and I have worked together for a few years, and you have done many trainings in our community, so we appreciate that too.
Thank you.
On our last show, I don't know if you saw it, but our guest talked about the signs of drug abuse, and I know you were involved with setting up See the Signs at the high school as well. But I guess I would like to follow up that show and talk about prevention. So my question to both of you is, why do you think prevention is important?
So focusing on prevention it helps to create a stronger, healthier community all around, and it lowers the chance of youth developing problems related to their substance abuse. Teens that start drinking before the age of 14 are 7 times more likely to develop an addiction or become dependent upon alcohol than those who can wait until they're 21.
Can you elaborate a little bit about that? Is that because the brain is still developing, and so when you add a chemical to it, it doesn't develop normally? Is that, yes.
That is correct. It
Yeah.
changes the way that our brain and body functions, and it starts to crave that too. And our brain is developing so much during the young years that we know until you're about 24 to 26 is when your brain is fully developed.
Right, yeah. I know that's a relatively newer science, but has been around for a while, and it's, I think, really helpful for parents to realize that the decision-making part of the brain isn't developed really until you're an adult at 24.
Yep.
So we really, our kids need the parents to help them make good, wise decisions. So yeah.
Yep.
So, and what else with prevention do you see as important? And
Throughout my role and the other regional prevention coordinators, we get to work with coalitions throughout the state that are working to recognize the positive choices being made by youth and adults in the community. And we know that most students in Northeast Minnesota are making healthy choices. 80% report not drinking in the past 30 days, and 83% not using tobacco, and 89% not using marijuana from the 2013 Minnesota Student Survey. And any substance use among youth is a concern, and that's why we have so many coalitions like the Hibbing Chemical Health Advisory Committee working to make a difference and promote health in their community.
right, because I remember our stats for Hibbing area were very good, and that's part of our social norms campaign that's out there. That 80% or so of our youth aren't using as well, and we have that campaign going on and has been going on for a while. Dan, how about you? What do you see as prevention? Why is it so important?
Yeah, I think for parents to have the right tools to, just speak into their kids' lives, to validate them. I think a big reason why some kids are getting into trouble with drugs and alcohol is they repeat the same statements over and over. There's nothing else to do. And so I believe that a big part of being proactive in our community is equipping parents with the tools to both create community and family events for the children to be a part of, the teens to be a part of, so that they can, they can't say, well, there's nothing to do, because their family life is healthy, there's community activities for them to be a part of. And so ultimately I think, what Laura said, it's really important that being there for these teens is important, and we can make a big difference.
Right. Well, thank you. What are some tips and tools that you know of that are available for parents or grandparents that are raising their grandkids, family members to use to prevent substance abuse? Anything out there that people should be aware of?
There's simple strategies like having meals together, and it may be breakfast, it might be dinner, whatever works best for your family, just to get that time together. And then also setting clear limits and rules and having those expectations. And when it's time to enforce a consequence, make sure that you do and you are consistent with it. Also to maintain that positive communication with each other and take advantage of our social media and other technology that we have available. It's just great to say, hey, how you doing? What happened today? What was your best part of the day? And then also within that, get in the habit of chatting with your child every day, because it gives them the opportunity to have those serious conversations with you, and also makes a child more comfortable in coming back to you again to say something important that's on their mind. And then start spending time doing different things together, start a tradition, and get to know your child's friends and their parents. And it is totally okay to call their parents to say, ask what's happening, find out what they're going to be doing, if alcohol will be served in the home.
Yeah.
And I know you two have really young children. I actually have adult children, so I've gone through this phase, and I didn't think I was a really strict mom, but I know I had some pretty good rules. They didn't get a cell phone. Of course, this is dating us a little bit, but they didn't get a cell phone till they were driving age, because I took them everywhere and I picked them up. We lived in the country, so I had a little control, so that's nice if you have that. But when they did get mobile on their own, then the cell phone was, you use this to call me when you get to your destination, you use this to call me when you're ready to leave, so I know it's 20 minutes till you get home. If you're not home in 20 minutes, I'm going to be going crazy. So we had those traditions established. We have one now as adults that if we go to a restaurant, if you get your cell phone out before I do, guess who's paying the meal? So we did that with our younger adult teens, so that we wouldn't be on our devices when we were out for a family meal. So just things like that can really get some good quality family time. And even you forget about driving your teens home from practice or
Sure.
whatever, just that little bit of time to have a little conversation. And yeah, you brought up a good point about don't be afraid to call somebody's house and say, hey, I'm Mrs. Bisping, I understand my son's coming to your house. Is there going to be an adult there? I want to make sure there aren't alcoholic beverages, and just have that conversation. It's a little scary as a parent, but I've done it, and that's how you get to know their friends and their friends' parents. So I totally think that is a good idea to do. So thank you for bringing that up.
That's huge.
And what about you, Dan? Is there anything that you can add to that, or?
Yeah, like I said before, I hear this repeated over and over from teenagers that there is literally nothing to do in this area. And so I think it's important for, parents to help create family traditions, as Laura just shared. I think, a big thing when I was in college, we're in downtown Minneapolis at a university, and we found ourselves at our apartment saying on a Friday night, there's nothing to do. And here we are in the Twin Cities, and we're complaining about no activities, and I think there's an attitude in this area like there's just not a whole lot that for teens to do. But I would say it's less about what activity are we going to go do as a family or in our community. It's more about creating a place where teens can connect with other teenagers, and for families to connect with each other, for families to connect with other families. And I think that's what we realized when we were at downtown Minneapolis. It's like, okay, it's less about what we're going to go do, but who we're hanging out with, who we're spending time with. And so for parents to say, let's find some creative traditions for our family to do, even if some of the kids would say, well, this is kind of cheesy, Mom and Dad. A few years down the road, they're going to say, I remember that tradition, and it was such an important thing that our family did.
Like family game night.
Yeah.
We have family game night. We still.
Yeah.
When they come home for the holidays, we play euchre. It's a German card game, Southern Minnesota, very popular. But we can't wait till all four of us are actually home, because you can't play it with three people. But we've board games. Just have a family game night is even fun.
Yeah.
So, that's traditions are good.
Yeah, a big part of my job is to create these events for teenagers to be drawn to, and so we've been creative, and really, again, if I could just say this clearly, it's less about trying to do this big activity just for an activity to happen. It's more about creating friendships and community. And so I think some fun things for families to do in this area, just finding different avenues to take your family to the Discovery Center and do a mini golf outing, or go to a restaurant, connect with another family at that restaurant. Or I think about the different softball leagues that are going on throughout the summer, and how neat it is for a family to go cheer on these teams and connect with other families. And so, again, just finding avenues for families to be a part of.
And today it's beautiful, 60 degrees outside. And we have a beautiful bike trail. You can walk it, you can run it, you can bike it, you can, I don't know if you can skateboard it, but there are a lot of free things that families can do together. Or as teens, if they want to, I don't know if it's in to go biking with your friends anymore, but there's certainly things that you can do that bring people together that are free even. So, thank you for that. What other resources are available for talking to teens about alcohol and other drugs? Laura, I think you had some good resources that you share quite a bit in the community. So could you talk about those?
Yeah, one of them is very specifically called Talk They Hear You. It's a new project from our Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It's called SAMHSA a lot too because it's a
Yes,
mouthful.
that's a mouthful.
Yes, they have an app, tips, tools, and ideas for how to talk to your teens about alcohol and other drugs, and how to do it no matter what your past experience has been with it. And then research shows that parents are the #1 reason young people don't drink. So if we can give
Wow.
parents the tips and tools to help them feel better about those conversations, that's something we really want to do. The Talk They Hear You campaign encourages parents to talk early as 9 years old, and to talk often, not just once. Many small conversations is much more effective than one large sit-down big conversation.
9 years old seems really young. Is there a reason for that?
It is. The American Academy of Pediatrics has started to do more research on this and has realized that we need to have these conversations younger because children are starting to drink and use other substances at younger ages.
Okay, so that's a good tip.
Yep. And you can start with really little ones, talking about healthy choices. And
Right, because I know kids are watching you. We talk about that in driver's ed when we talk to parents about driving. They're watching you. You have little babies. I mean, they're going to be watching you really soon when they're in the car, in their car seats. What are you doing? Are you on your phone? Are you paying attention? Are, you know, they start imitating you right away with everything. So be aware of that. You want to be a good role model, but good point. They're watching you, how you drink and interact with other people now. So
Definitely. And then sometimes we know it can be difficult as a parent to figure out what to say and how to say it. So the Talk They Hear You project has many different sample toolkits and resources and also videos. And it can help parents seize the moment in everyday life to figure out how to do things, such as in this video right now from the Talk They Hear You campaign from the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration.
okay, so we'll watch that.
Oh, hey, bud.
Oh.
Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
It's a school night. With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
Not sure about those two. I've been meaning to ask you. This is tougher than I thought. Is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
I hope not, because alcohol can lead you to say things and do things that you really wish you hadn't. Isn't this what you're supposed to say?
I know.
So if any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you.
Ryan.
Yeah?
So start the conversation even before they're teenagers.
Good idea.
For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Well, this is a really good example of how it only takes a minute to talk to your teens.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything else about that video clip? I know I was on the SAMHSA website today, and there were a lot of video clips and apps and tips for parents.
Yep. There's a lot of nice different examples too that can meet whatever your needs might be, and it just helps to hear that, you know, we're not the only ones that are like, am I doing this right? Kind of thing. So to have that perspective and hear that, yeah, the kids love you too and they need to hear it just the same. And then there's some other websites that can be really great too for parents, and there's the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids with drugfree.org, and our Minnesota Prevention Resource Center and the Regional Prevention Coordinators also have websites. We have MAD with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They have a website and resources called Power of Parents, which is incredibly wonderful to access, the trainings that can be provided. And then knowthedangers.com is a Minnesota-specific website about synthetic drugs. And we also in St. Louis County have access to our substance abuse prevention and intervention initiative. And they can provide different resources, screening, brief intervention, referral to treatment, access to a streamlined, more effective way to get into treatment if that is needed. And those resources will all be shared and listed on our healthyhibbing.com website.
Yeah, I was updating our resources list because since our last show, we found, you know, there isn't really a place for parents just to go to find chemical health issue, you know, health, mental health, and then resources. So if you go to healthyhibbing.com, it will be on there under the resource page as well. So thanks for mentioning the website. That's good. Is there anything else you can think of that can help parents raise their children?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you look online, there's so many blogs, and I think read everything, but follow no specific. You take it. You don't want to adapt the whole thing to each child, but adapt it to, to parenting each specific child that you're dealing with. And so, I think you can also ask other parents who are doing a
Right.
phenomenal job. There's so many parents that they're working with their young children and then their teens, and it's fun to watch parents who are parenting teens really well. They don't feel like, oh, I'm just the awkward parent, or I'm not relevant, where they're still speaking in their teenagers' lives. And so ask them, be teachable, and say, hey, what can I learn from you, and how do you parent so well? And so
And that's one thing I always thought, wouldn't it be great? We have early childhood education, which is great because, your kids get time to play and parents get time to meet each other and be with other parents that are at the same level raising their kids. But once they start school, there's not a lot of help for parents and not a lot of groups. So, I've often thought we should start a parenting group for teens. That would kind of be helpful. So, but good thing to suggest is if you see somebody out there doing great job, have raised great kids, ask them what's your advice. Learn from each other.
Sure.
Definitely. Are there any family-friendly or educational events that parents can take their kids to? You talked a little bit about that before. Is there anything in particular you were thinking of?
Yeah, I was specifically kind of just talking more about community events that Hibbing has to offer, and I think again it's the idea of building a stronger family and taking your kid to an event where you're talking on the car ride there, or just community events where you're connecting with other families and giving kids those things to do. And so some different events that are coming up. We have the Hope Springs 5K, April 23rd. It's at the Memorial Building, and I think some people are like, why would I go and do a 5K? And but it's fun because there's a community there, and you see everybody before the race, and people are talking, and I think it's a great place for families to connect. And so all ages can run, and I think part of that's just going and hanging out before and after the race, being a part of the community, connecting with some other families. So.
Well, and I know like community education has the Couch to 5K, where if you aren't a runner, you can actually take your kids and start a hobby together.
Sure.
And then they have the Red or Run. I mean, there's a lot of community events.
Yeah.
And if they're really bored, I know we had our 100 things to do list.
Yeah.
I know of a parent that told me, my son said he was bored. So I got out our 100 things to do list, and I said, pick a number without him looking at what they were. And he picked a number, and they went to that list, and they did what that was. So
Awesome.
that's a good thing to do with your kids, too. If they say they're bored, watch out.
Yeah, 100 things for families to adopt
Yeah.
and do, I think.
Yeah, and that's on our website, too, and our
Yeah.
Facebook page. So,
Yeah.
they're all over in the community. What can community members do to help impact prevention efforts? Laura, let's.
Well, they can join the committee if they want. The Hibbing Chemical Health Advisory Committee is doing the real Hibbing thing to do with the 100 things to do and all the great things that we have available in this community. That can be a part of it, promoting it, to volunteering at the different events happening throughout the community, and then sharing ideas at coalition meetings and helping us figure out new ways to get messages out and find out the more effective things that'll reach out to people here.
Do you know when our next meeting is?
The first Tuesday of the month.
Good. So it's next Tuesday, which is what? Is it April already next week?
It will be.
Yeah. So next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and it's at the Fairview Plaza. So anybody can come. So that's a great way to connect and help make a difference.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, if the coalition or committee work isn't quite what they're looking for, there's other things that we can all do on a daily basis. And it's as simple as being aware of what we are doing in the community. We're role models for youth, and they're always looking at us to see how we deal with stress, what we do for fun. So keeping that in mind as we interact and post things on social media too. And then thinking of the moments that we're naturally interacting with youth in our life, and if we have an opportunity to get to know them better, to take that and to show them that we really care about what's happening in their lives. We know through our Minnesota student survey data that students who feel that their parents and other adults care about them are substantially less likely to use. And in fact, for community members specifically, the students are showing that they're 1.8 times less likely to use alcohol and other substances in the last 30 days if they feel cared about.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be your child
Sure.
that you're interacting with to make a difference in the
Yep.
community. And social media, again, they're watching you. So,
Yeah.
Dan, anything? I know you do a little mentoring, or you've talked about mentoring before. How can
Sure.
that work for people?
Yeah, I think, I kind of parent, hundreds of kids in the Hibbing High School, from coaching to our student ministry. And, we train up youth workers to be mentors for 7th through 12th graders. And I think some important things in mentoring adolescents is kind of figuring out what they're crying out for. What are some of their needs and desires? And I think first and foremost is, will someone believe in me? And I think a lot of teenagers, they look and they recognize, well, I have these different quirks about me, or I'm different, or I don't have these types of skills or giftings. And I think for parents and mentors to say, I actually do believe in you. I look at maybe some of the negative things, and I would recognize that those are actually a passion that you have in your life, or you're sensitive, and just telling a kid that you believe in them as a mentor is vital. I think from there, listening to them. I think too many times as adults, coaches, parents, teachers, we come with this agenda and we say, did you get this task done? Did you and I think they can read through that. So as a mentor, don't try to push this agenda, but just simply be there to listen to where they're at, what they're battling with. I think sometimes we're quick to jump to a solution when really they just want to be heard.
Right.
And so third, I think someone to love them. I think about the different love languages for kids. They want quality time, just to be available. They want someone to give words of affirmation, to show acts of kindness. And so I think that's a cry that adolescents are saying, well, would someone love me? And for parents to to be mindful of that. And then lastly, someone to be that example. And I think sometimes as parents, we're sitting there saying, we want you to come up to this level, we want you to perform and behave this way, when the reality is maybe as a mentor or parent, we're not necessarily setting the best example. And so I think for us to practice what we preach and to have integrity. And so I think those are the cries of adolescents to, for us to be aware of. And lastly, to, basically recognize how to get into a teenager's life, to just not have that agenda, to be available, to validate them so that they're listening, their walls come down, and you're complimenting, hey, great game, or that outfit
And it
looks
could be
nice.
that one little thing, maybe that one teen that is acting out is just, it's a cry for help. And if you say one thing like, oh, you look nice today,
Yeah.
that could be the one thing they remember, that
Yeah.
you were nice to me,
Yeah.
and that's what they need. So thank you. Thank
Yep.
you both for being on our show today. I want to thank the audience for watching our show and this edition. And until next time, I wish you all a safe and healthy day.